Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weissoon. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you, guys. And, folks, it is now campfire talk time with our buddy Larry Weissoon, Mr. Whitetail. Been here for about 18 years. And, Larry, let's plan on about 18 more years of campfire talk. What do you say?
I'll tell you what, these last 18 have gone so fast, and I can't wait for the next 18, Luke.
Yeah,
we got to thank sponsors. You know, we've been so fortunate. We're at Dallas Safari Club. DSC is Conservation Education, Hunter Advocacy. And don't forget, folks, the January 17th through the 19th at the Gaylord, Texan there in Grapevine is going to be the summer show, kind of a mini show, if you will, compared to the convention. And then on the night of the 19th is the DSC Foundation Gala. So if you got a chance to come out, please come out and see. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic event. Hornady is going to be there, of course, and Hornady has been one of our sponsors for a long time. Accurate, deadly, dependable, stealth vision. Dr. John McCall, who recently was named to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Commission with the stealth vision scopes, and that you and I are using, just unbelievably good. Taurus that makes the Raging Hunter handguns that I love to shoot, and then also Mossberg with their rifles made here in Texas, and Stealth Vision I've already mentioned, but also, my gosh, VINEYARDMAX. We had a great time with those guys here not too very long ago, and if you're interested in the deer tracking or a whole bunch of other great products, I gotta get in touch with them. So, look, you know, we need to be planning for the winter time. I know it's hotter, all get out right now, but sooner or later, those first northers will start blowing down and start getting cool a little bit. And not that we don't think about hunting all the blooming time. I know our necks will start swelling, and we'll really be thinking about hunting when that happens.
It's around the corner, Larry. I know a lot of our friends listening. Well, let's see, we're well into June, July, and August. I always think here in Texas that once we make it to September the 1st, it's still hot, but it's not as hot. Things are beginning to change. It's beginning to, well, one thing, the bucks are going to be losing that velvet, that's for sure, about then, you know, and hunting season will be right around the corner. One thing that might be interesting to people, a topic that you and I have discussed a little bit, hunting bison, buffalo. Of course, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge is a favorite place of Larry and myself, and I get to get up there several times a year, and so does Larry, and it's just an awesome place. Around 45,000 acres total in that area. I guess that I'm not sure if that's McCurtain County, but anyway, it's right there. The location of the Choctaw Hunting Lodge is within Paris, Texas. You can be there in about an hour or something like that, southeast Oklahoma. But they have a buffalo. Buffalo hunts have become very, very, very popular. And Larry is going to go up and hunt one probably when the weather's cool in January. And old Luke's going to get the benefit from a little, maybe a ground meat. But I tell you, the meat from the bison, a lot, not only the Choctaw Hunting Lodge, our friends there, but other friends I have that have hunting ranches, it's become real popular because they so much quality meat, and it's not it's wild. I mean, these critters make their living out in the open. So if nothing else, the meat from those hunts, Larry, I think it's a big draw for a lot of people, you know.
Look, it really is. They, they truly are. When you get right down to it, grass fed
Yeah,
kind of thing. I get thinking once in a while going to the grocery store and they'll have a little sign that says, specially grass fed beef. So we're gonna have us some grass fed buffalo.
You bet.
In years past, I've had the opportunity to hunt, again in Oklahoma. I've shot 2 buffaloes years ago with a friend of mine, John Batchelor. John bought a bunch of buffalo, and he was into really like the old days kind of thing, hunting them on horseback. And one of the pastures he had them in, the buffalo didn't want to stay there. So we ended up having to go hunt over a bunch of different ranches to find them, and finally, did find the bull we were looking for. But I'm really excited. Of course, Choctaw is such a special place, and I'll be up there in the last starting, I guess, October the 1st, if you will, with David and Edgar Cotton, and we're going to be hunting black bear. But while I'm there, we're going to be scouting us some buffalo as well too. That, as you mentioned, that meat is out of this world good when it comes right down to it. Those buffalo are big. So you and I were talking about it not too long ago. We were together. Said, how much freezer space you got? Well, I got so much. Well, maybe I need to buy me another freezer kind of thing.
I know.
I don't want any of that meat to we're going to share it a little bit with the Cottons and a little bit with the Choctaw Nation as well too. But there's still going to be a chunk of meat that's out of this world good, and I need to get that recipe from Nicole there, Nicole Vickery there on the Choctaw. She makes a ground meat dish kind of thing, if you want to call it that you've talked about. And I've listened and salivated while you're talking about it. That's just out of this world good.
Oh, man. Yeah, she does. It's actually buffalo hamburger is what it is, Yeah, it's like hamburger steak. It's exactly what it is, hamburger steak, but it's made from bison meat. And that, I'll be honest with you, I've told Nicole this, and it's just a fact. That is, I had rather have that dish that she cooks than any ribeye steak that I've ever eaten or filet mignon or anything. It is. She cooks it with in a way, a conventional smothered steak with gravy. I know it's onion, and I know it's mushroom, all kind of that kind of stuff. But the flavor of that bison is it's phenomenal. And planning ahead, the good thing about hunting there, they have a big walk-in cooler, and you get a 1,800 or 2,100 pound buffalo on the ground. We're not cutting them up with flint knives like the Indians did back in the day, But I don't think any of us could do that anyway. But we've got, they've got a walk-in cooler, and our plan is in January, pick a cool day, and then get that meat chilled down, put it in there, and let it chill down, and Kuby's. Folks in Texas, not many people from Texas don't know about Kuby's game processing and Kuby's restaurant in Dallas, but I've got it all arranged. Get that meat chilled down, have it in a nice cool day. It doesn't have to be freezing, but cool, and it will be in January. Wrap it up. It's going to be chilled to the bone. Wrap it up with some tarps, put it in the back of my old GMC pickup, and I'll head straight to Kuby's with it, and then they will age it about 10 days, Larry,
Right.
And that's, it doesn't have to be done, but it will improve the flavor of any meat. And then cut that up. Boy, we're going to, at remaining hunting camps, we're going to be eating good, Larry. I know it,
Well, we've got a bunch of hunts. We'll be set up for a long time with that buffalo. To me, the buffalo, it's such an iconic animal to begin with, and then the fact that it's on the going to be coming off the Choctaw Nation. Oh my gracious, that just makes it all that much more important as far as I'm concerned. And you're right, their hunts are really popular for all their hunts when you get right down to it, whether it's eastern turkeys or white-tailed deer or hogs or some of the exotic species that they have, and like Gibbs buck and Seminole oryx and axes and fallow and all those other kind of things. But I'm really kind of looking forward to that. I'm kind of going back and forth, excuse me, what I'm going to end up using to take that animal. I've thought about a lever action, thought about, one of the modern single shots, and then been with Jim Bequette not too long ago. Jim used to be the editor of Shooting Times. You know him very well, and
Yep.
he's been a dear friend of mine
Great
for a long
guy.
time.
Yeah.
Jim, I talked to Jim about it, and he said, "Hey, Larry," said, "I've got an old original Sharps." He said, I can't remember, it's a 5100 or 5110 black powder cartridge. Said weighs about 16 pounds. He said, "If you don't mind carrying that gun around," he said, "that might be an ideal thing to shoot a buffalo with." And so I'm really kind of gravitating toward that right there, trying to make it as authentic as it was many years ago.
I didn't catch. Is that one of the? Is it a real? I mean, an antique one, or is it a replica?
No, this isn't a replica. This is
the real
deal.
From
Shiloh Sharps from years and years ago.
1800s.
Yeah, like the 1870s and 1880s when they were really, when they were really hunting buffalo after the Civil War kind of thing was over with.
Yeah.
And so, and it's an old black powder cartridge. Again, I can't remember. It's something bigger and long. It's bigger in diameter and longer than a 4570. The 4570 came along kind of at the tail end of all the buffalo shooting, but prior to that, and then back then it was in a black powder cartridge, or black powder being used. And so Jim's got this rifle, as I said, I think it's a 5110. So it's a 50 caliber bullet, and then 110 was kind of the length of the cartridge or the powder charge that they use, kind of depending on how they call those cartridges or those rounds. But excuse me, but I'm really kind of looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to the hunt, and then I think probably more so looking forward to enjoying about a year's worth of buffalo meat.
You bet. Well, I wonder what grain bullet, just roughly. Probably a 300 grain or more, you think? Or?
It's actually more. I think it's a 500 grain cast lead bullet. Because if we do it that way, we'll do it just like the old timers, the old buffalo runners did many years ago, and hand cast that bullet. And I think that's what it is. I think it's a 500 grain bullet, if I remember.
Big,
correctly.
heavy bullet. Well, is it a black powder cartridge, Larry?
It's a metallic cartridge using black powder and then that cast lead bullet, just like they used to use many years ago.
Well, I'm not real familiar with that, but is the primer built into the case of the bullet?
This one, the primer, there is a primer built into the case. Some of the early 44 stuff, like the Henry rifles and all those that were out there, some of those were rimfire, and some of the 44s were. But once they got into some of these, because of the vast amount of powder that had in that case, they started developing a primer that that was kind of a centerfire primer.
Yeah, I got you a good hot primer that'll touch all that black powder off.
Sets all that powder off.
That's a pretty good, maybe 110 grain too. I don't know.
It may be. I got to do some research.
Yeah, we're going to study that. That'll be fun for you. Be fun for you to get ready for that. I'm all about new stuff. That'd be new to. Not new, but it'd be new to me for sure. Well, Larry, we're about out of time for our show, our segment this week. Had a good time with you and all our friends down there in Nacogdoches at the East Texas Dallas Safari Club. The deer thing, the seminar that that we partook of, that was all fun, and that was just a whole lot of fun. I enjoyed being down there. That was a couple weeks ago,
Luke, that was so much fun, and I too want to remind everybody about the TWA 40th anniversary convention, July 10th through the 12th at the JW Marriott on the north side of San Antonio. 40 years since we started that thing. They can go to texas-wildlife.org to learn more about it, and hope to see a bunch of those folks that were listening to us there as well too.
Well, Larry, thanks a lot for being with me, and I hope to see you real soon up this way. We'll be right back here next week at the same time with some more fun outdoor talk, won't we?
Yes, we will.
Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weishuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34-millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, I want to introduce you to VINEYARDMAX. Now, this is an awesome deer attractant, a food attractant that's made with hammer-milled grape skin, dried hammer-milled grape skins. It has a mixture of rice bran and also corn chops. Very effective. Deer can smell the scent of grapes from a long way, and it brings them in. I've used it in West Texas out with Larry Weissoon, and we were out there where deer are not even exposed to grapes, and they came right in. Also, VINEYARDMAX has a very good line of game and fish feeders. Check them out online, vineyardmax.net. Friends, I want to tell you about an awesome camping destination, Wind Point Park on Lake Tawakoni. It's over on the far east side, kind of the northeast side of the lake. It's a pristine park. You can go there and view, I think they estimated a couple of hundred deer on that couple of hundred acres there. Cabins, beautiful RV park, fishing piers, docks. It's got everything you'd want in an outdoor destination. Check them out online at windpointparktx.com. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, it is time for us to travel up to beautiful Lake Texoma. Bill Carey, my buddy with Striper Express, he's been there 41 years, I guess, stays on top of the striper fishing. Well, Lake Texoma was a wasteland about a few weeks ago. It was a flooded area, and the fishing was not good. Bill does a good job of telling us what's really going on, the real world fishing. They're catching the heck out of stripers on live bait, and the bite with the artificials has just started, is the word. So, good morning to you, Mr. Bill Carey.
Well, good morning, Luke, and all y'all out in radio land.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time. I know you guys have been under the gun, keeping your guide service rolling. I actually fished with you on another lake here a few weeks ago, and not Texoma, but one of them not too far. And it's just a spot you guys have been filling in the blank with. We caught some good hybrid stripers, and then a bunch of white bass, sand bass. But the news is, Texoma is what we really want to focus on. And the news is that I know little Dave, Captain Dave, that guided there for eons, is with you. He's a live bait specialist too. He's a specialist on anything, but he's been catching them on live shad, and a bunch of them, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Things are good. We've been sending out up to 3 boats a day for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I told my guides, I want you to dust off your bait tanks that you brought with you when you came to join Striper Express, because, folks, we specialize in artificial lure fishing, and that's why people call us. You're in the game from start to finish, casting, setting that hook, fighting that fish.
Right.
But the muddy water ran us out, and we went to that secret lake. But back to Texoma today, Luke, I'm sending out a lure boat to scout because we've got some good enough water this time. Well, little Dave's fishing a lot. The other 2 boats are fishing a lot, and they're starting to see surfacing summer fish.
Oh, good. Well, Bill, it's par for the course, because the sediments, I'm no biologist or fisheries biologist, but I know the sediments settle. It takes a while. The big old flood, like upstream on the watershed above Texoma, it looked like a chocolate cake. I mean, it was brown, and but all that, the sediments are going down, and the water is clearing. You know that. So it'll be interesting. I know you were telling me y'all had already caught some on artificials. So it's got right now. Doing radio is always a challenge, because we're talking today. Well, by the time someone gets up there 3 days from now, I'm going to predict, unless something unworldly happens in the weather, I'm going to predict the summer bite's going to be back on those artificials. But, right now it's scouting, but it's gangbusters for the live shad. If someone was going to get in the boat with you this morning, that's what you'd be depending on, live shad, right?
That's right. We're telling everybody their expectations, and they're rolling with it. And, May, we moved over to the Secret Lake, and there were some people that said, no, we just want your stripers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're known for.
I know.
So, yes, sir. And Little Dave's all about limits. Little Dave will take you out lure fishing, and if he's not happy with it, he will go up a creek, get that net out, fill that bait tank up, and catch him a couple hundred shad. And I've never seen anybody do it in the daylight. You usually do it at night with lights. And,
yes,
you got to get them before the sun comes up. But that Little Dave can go up there and get those baits, get out there, and finish that trip with a limit of fish. He's just something else. And, yeah.
Little Dave is you look up striper guide in the dictionary, honestly. You've got, Chris, you've got some fine, all your the group up there is awesome guides. I fish with your son Chris. There's none better. I mean, Little Dave though, is as far as you better plan on eating some stripers when you go with him, because he is, and he's like a squirrel on with high adrenaline. He is. Think about it. He can move from one hook to the next and be netting a fish and telling you a joke at the same time. Little Dave can. But anyway, yeah, I've had the pleasure of fishing with Little Dave for, I don't know, the first time 25 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so now let's just predict. And you and I are qualified to do this. I've covered fishing up there I'm no guide, but I know what's going. I've dealt with the striper fishing with you and others for many years up there. What I'm going to predict is that within maybe today, when they get back from the testing, Little Dave and him, I'm going to predict that summer bite. The water's if it's not clear enough now, it's going to be clear enough within a day or two. The summer bite, those shad are dispersed all over that lake. It's got to turn on. It's got to. I mean, unless there's a huge change from the flood. None of the fish went over the floodgates. Yeah, so they're still there. The shad are dispersed all over that lake. The summer bite's got to be on, Bill. I mean, why would it not be,
That's right. And they've been eating and feeding the whole time we couldn't catch them. So Lake Texoma's in good shape. We survived this one. I've been here for 3 of the 4 floods that topped the spillway. And when it tops the spillway, you lose a tremendous amount of fish. But this old lake, she heals herself. I've seen shad freezes. And then by the time we get around to September, we've got more bait in the lake than we had before. I've seen floods, but she is just a natural phenomenon on how she heals herself.
Well, I tell you, Bill, honestly, one of the things of course, we've been friends for decades, but I appreciate having somebody like you that's been there. You've been there over 40 years, longer than that, but actively guiding and, back now you run the show for the guide service. That's your, which is a job in itself, I'm sure, but I doubt if many people there on Texoma have got your longevity and experience is the truth of the matter. I mean, that's the only way you can really gain experience. I don't care if you're an outdoor rider or a fishing guide or a plumber, is experience, and
that's right.
You can, when you talk, I listen on the tips on these stripers for sure. But this flood has thrown me a loop. I thought, whoa, here it is, the peak time for topwater bite in May, and the water's so thick that you couldn't see an inch under the surface. So it's been a weird spring for you. I know that.
I tell people, Luke, you could have planted watermelons out in that muddy water. I say, why do you think they call it the Red River?
I know.
I mean, she muddies up. But, I said just before this flood, I said, I think every time we talk about rain for the rest of my life, I'm going to say we need it. But it sure proved me wrong this spring. I've never seen so much rain in my life. And then we got people like Larry down south Mr. Whitetail that wish they could get a few inches of rain.
Yeah, like Larry says, Texas is a thirsty state, but it's had its pitcher full this spring. That's
That's
for
a good
sure.
one.
Yeah. So Bill, the techniques. Let's just assume that you and I both are correct in the fact that the striper artificial bite is back.
Okay.
Okay. Let's assume that, and we are assuming, but we're assuming we've got some experience to make this assumption. Okay, so a week from now, let's just say that. What pattern soon? That topwater bite in May, I don't know. That's just, I fish with you guys a lot on that. That's where you're finding isolated. You're not seeing a lot of surface action, but the fish are there. You just know where to look to find them. So that I always call it the leapfrog thing that starts down at around Eisenhower, down by the dam, and 1,000 schools of them work their way up along those bluffs and all that. When will that start? I'm thinking that might just around the corner. I don't know.
That's right, Luke. I'd say that those big schooling actions, which traditionally we have a school that can be as much as a mile long down at the dam. We call that up to Grandpappy Point. We call that Striper Alley. Yep. And then we've got a traditional run up the Washita River. We call the Alberta Wall Run. And then we've got another one that materializes from TI to Soldiers Creek around to Orwell, and that's a big school. So traditionally we have 3 huge schools, but in the last few years we've got so much bait that it's changed. You may be running, I tell people we get at 5:30 in the morning, we run 10 miles to the first school. Well, you might just run a couple miles, and all of a sudden, here's what I call a pod. That's what I was getting at. A pod of fish that blows up because they were there in that area, and they made those fish blow up. So the traditional schools, if they don't materialize, you can have a good pair of binoculars, and you can find fish in what I call pods. So what we're doing right now is every guide has got a rod has a top water plug on it, mostly the pencil popper and the Chopo, and then the other rod is a slab. So we're just ready for this summer bite to materialize. It should happen now.
Bill, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back up there with you guys, too. I love to catch them on the slabs, the topwaters, the live shad. To be honest with you, it's all fun. Striper Express, easy to find online, striperexpress.com. You might leave a number, Bill, for people that might want to give a buzz and up there and talk with you, You
betcha. You can always talk to MT, our office manager. She's a hoot at 903-786-4477.
That's right, Bill. And we'll get you back. I want to get you back here in a week or two and give an update on this lure fishing. We know we get up there with you now and catch them on the live shad. That's happening. But I want an update. Could we do that maybe next week,
You betcha.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at SmokinTex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. For seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com.
Folks, I want to tell you about an awesome destination for camping, just a getaway place, some very good fishing up on the upper end of Lake Livingston. It's River Rat Resort. You can go online to riverratresort.com. Check it all out. It's an awesome website there, but there's RV sites for RVs. There's tent camping right on the river, cabins there. It is a beautiful park, and I fished down in that area for many, many years. I probably first started fishing there 30 years ago, but you can fish the river. Lake Livingston is a well-known fishing lake. If you don't like to fish, which I bet you do, but if you don't, it's a great place just to get away from the hustle bustle of the big city. You can call 936-277-5495. That's 936-277-5495 and make reservations. But first, go online there to riverratresort.com. Check it out. I want to tell you about a one-stop shop for everything related to game feeders and fish feeders, Ultrimatic Feeders. I've been using components and feeders from Ultrimatic Feeders for 20-something years, I guess. They have the remote, which you can remotely activate your feeder with, the timer, which is the most simple timer that I've ever found on a game feeder, and then the eliminator. Check these out. They are worked on actually on centrifugal force, and they seal off the corn supply so coons and squirrels can't get to the corn. Check them out. Ultrimatic Feeders, you could go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com. Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, folks, visiting with Mr. Bill Carey up there at Texoma, it sounds like that water's beginning to stabilize, and the striper bite on the live shad is going good, and I predict real soon that they're going to be hitting on those artificial baits, maybe as soon as today. We'll try to follow up on that. But right now, let's move down, not too far from Lake Texoma, southeast down to Lake Tawakoni, which is located about an hour east of Dallas. My good friend, another good friend here, Tony Pennebaker, he makes a Tony P's catfish bait, awesome bait, but he's been catching a bunch of catfish, which is not news to me. Tony, it's time for me to be quiet and let you talk. Good morning to you.
Morning, Luke. How you doing?
I'm fine, buddy. I'm doing real good. There's two types of bites that I'm pretty much aware of. I've been partaking of this for decades down there at Tawakoni, but I don't know a more dependable way to catch a mess of catfish than to put out some range cubes, some sired grain, even some corn. Believe it or not, you showed me that. Dry, like you put in a deer feeder, shell corn. Bait a spot.
Old corn.
Yeah, corn. They eat that like crazy. And not even soaked corn, just right out of the bag. But anyway, a baited hole, a number 6 or a number 4 treble hook with just enough weight to keep it down, some Tony P's punch bait, a good punch bait that'll stay on the hook. And to me, if a punch bait won't stay on the hook, it's not going to be real effective. But
you ain't gonna catch many fish on a bare hook.
That's right.
It's possible.
It
has have a lot of patience.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, so and then it might not be quite as simple as I'm trying to make it sound, Tony, because somebody might be out in the deepest water in the lake, but you're catching them now. If you want to do this, 12 to 15, 20 feet in the summertime. Isn't that about a pretty good depth to start with?
I'm working with a new anchor I set about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had done many trips on top of it, but I did a few. Of course, right out here close to my house, so I go out there and bait it up every day a little bit. But it's getting better and better. And which I marked fish there, and there's structure. I kind of cruised the river channel until I found the structure, and that's where I set the anchor. So there's fish there, and I think the longer I fish it, the better it's going to get. And and hopefully there'll be another couple of people catch on, maybe set anchors there close to me, and then there'll be several of us fishing around there, and kind of it'll make a better spot out of it if that happens.
Yes, that's right. Tony, I hunt hogs a lot. It's one of the things. I like to eat the wild pork, some of them, not all of them, the good ones, the ones that are good eaters. But I liken, honestly, catfishing this time of year over baited holes to hunting hogs. I do, because you put that bait out. Now, a person that had never been to Lake Tawakoni, You correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but you tell me if you don't agree. Never been there, and you get on, say a bend in the Sabine Channel or any kind of feeder creek with some brush around it. You don't have to have a baited hole that's been there baited for days. You can put some bait out, and you can drop you some good punch bait down, and you can catch fish. I believe that, Tony.
That's true. I mean, a constant baited hole will usually provide you with a fast limits of catches, fast limits.
Yes.
Now, if you're just out there for the weekend fishing, you don't aim on going home in 2 hours.
Right.
But you can pretty much pick a spot and throw down some cubes and corn and sit there and fish with the punch bait, and you're going to draw fish. You're going to catch fish, and I've done it where places that I've never fished.
Yep.
And the wind would be so high forecast for that day that I just couldn't see fit to go out where I normally do. And I'd go to the south bank over there and get out of that high wind and big waves. And you can't get out of the wind, but you can get out of them big waves.
Right.
And and just tie up to a tree over there somewhere, dump out some chum, and
get with it.
Within the hour, you'll be catching pretty good fish.
Yes, sir. That's true.
And it get better and better as the day goes on. It just really matters. The constant baited hole is a quick limit catch.
Yeah, and as a guide, what you do, I mean, you could take them out and probably limit them out in a little bit more time, but you can go to one of those spots where you know they're going to be and hammer them, right? I mean, so that's channel cat. Not to say you can't catch some blue catfish mixed in with them.
You will catch some blues. I mean, even there, the punch bait will catch any of them. They come by it, they're going to hit it.
That's right.
In size, it could be any size. They could be big ones or little ones, either way, I think most thing when you're out there fishing those places, you need to kind of probe where they're at. I mean, because real deep water, some people fish out there in that 40-foot water.
Right, yeah.
Same way. Of course, there'll be a thermocline down there. They'll dump the grain and the cubes
below.
And then, of course, they're going to fish about 20 or 25 foot down.
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of fishing right on the bottom. And that's kind of true out here too. At times, the other day, I was catching the fish 8 foot under the boat.
Yeah.
In 26 foot of water.
Yeah.
8 foot down there. They wasn't biting good on the bottom. They wasn't biting too good 3, 4, 5 turns up. So I just went 10 foot down.
Right.
Started catching some pretty good fish.
The thing
10 foot under the boat.
The thing about blue catfish, opposed to channel cat in a way, the blue cats a lot of times will suspend. I've noticed that through the years. And then I've been out there with you and other folks, and on my own even, and in the summer, and you'll see blue catfish. Some of that bait will be floating up on the bank, on the surface. I mean, you'll see that, or grasshoppers blow by. You'll see those blue cats right up on the surface.
It'd be a little later in the summer when them grasshoppers hit the surface and be out there on them trees.
Yeah.
That's some fun fishing there.
I hope we have a good grasshopper year, buddy, because those old big yellow.
Don't hate you for that.
Yeah, I know it, but the truth is, you get a good say a south wind or whatever, steady southeast wind down there, and those old grasshoppers, a lot of fields and weeds and all, they hit that water. Well, they're not the best swimmers in the world, I don't guess, a grasshopper, but he might drift forever, float along. And no kidding, it's fun to watch that. Those blues will be up like sharks right on the surface.
You see them, they'll be up there tooling the top. You put a cork rig on, set it about 20 inches, and get in there where there's a lot of activity. You see one, you sling it out there in front of him.
He's going to have it. You might remember, I think the area we used to call the woods, the wood, all those trees.
On the big side over there.
Yeah. Several years ago, I was out there fishing, and during a year, midsummer, those old big yellow grasshoppers were everywhere, and they had to float for 2 miles to get to that spot.
I think they fly out there.
Do they really?
When they get mature like that, they can fly a long ways.
Well,
I think they take to the air and they fly, and they'll fly until they just go down and they'll be in the water. But I used to just go out there and get them off of those trees back during the drought.
Knock them off.
You know, grasshoppers are real prevalent on the hottest, driest years.
Yes, yeah.
They don't do well when it's raining all the time.
They don't.
But so on those particular years I'm talking about, you could drive out there to the woods and there'd be grasshoppers all over those trees.
I was there. We just
pull up there and just get them off there and fish with them.
Use them for bait.
But you could also just sit there fishing, drifting, or whatever, and they'd be crawling in your boat.
Yes.
And we'd catch all them, throw them in the ice chest.
Right. That's
it for bait.
I'll give you a tip. On catching grasshoppers. I've got a nephew that used to guide down at Levon, Billy Kilpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
He was a crappie guide. He retired. He's 70-something now. But anyway, they have chickens. They're free-range chickens type. They put them up at night, and they live on a few acres out there around Leonard. And he'll call me up. He gets up like we do early in the morning. He said, "Luke, I've already got 400 grasshoppers." And I said, "What in the world are you doing with all those grasshoppers? Fishing?" No, I feed them to my chickens. So I gave him a tip. I said, take, the hose that women wear, the regular old, I don't know what they're made of, nylon or whatever, whatever they are. But take 2 or 3 of them and cut them up, open them up, and tie them on a string. In the summer, this works. And drag them around where there are grasshoppers. And those things, they can't get out of that. Their feet
they get
are
stuck in it.
Yeah, and then you just take that thing and I couldn't. I'd rather just buy a sack of hen scratch or whatever. But they're all about free range stuff. And anyway, I'm sure that grasshoppers are one of the best food for laying hens, for producing eggs you can get. But there's a tip. Tony, me and you start talking, we never know where the conversation is going to go. You know it?
Yeah, I was going to tell you about them grasshoppers right quick. You catch them at night with a flashlight. Mm-hmm. They'll be on them weeds and stuff, and they won't fly off.
That's what he does. Yeah.
You can just pick them off there just at will. You know, when it gets hot in the daytime, you can't hardly catch them.
They're plenty wild.
Really quick.
We're about out of time. We're going to tell people how to call you, but I'm going to tell you the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life with grasshoppers. I was hunting hogs out in Kaufman County 12 years ago, 15 years ago, and I was going into a stand. I was bow hunting. I was going into a spot I was going to hunt. I looked out, and I saw a hog, one big hog. And then I started walking. I was downwind. I got a little closer. I thought I might sneak up and get a shot. I didn't. This sow was with pigs. There's about 6 or 8 little pigs. They were chasing grasshoppers out in this field. I've never seen anything as comical in my life. But every one of them little pigs would be running. I guess they were catching them.
They eating them.
They were. Oh yeah, a lot of protein, they say. Well, Tony, I kind of morphed us off the topic of catfish, but bottom line is, somebody wants to catch some catfish at Tawakoni. Tell them how to get with you.
Hey, right now, call me at 903-474-3078. Or you look me up on Facebook. Send me a message at Thundercold Blue Cat gmail.com, or just call me on the phone. Probably the best thing to do. And remember that number. And
give it to us, Tony.
I'm doing channel cat baited hole trips. I've got good deals during the week. And you can still catch some blues. We caught a 40-pounder yesterday.
I saw the picture.
So the blues can. And I think right now they're ending the spawn, and I could probably put you on some pretty dang good blue cats if you want to do it.
Tony,
give us you a trophy of a lifetime.
Give us that number one more time.
903-474-3078.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember PyramydAir.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use. You can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas. And VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, we've had a good bit of hunting talk with Mr. Whitetail early on with Larry, and then some fishing talk here in Texas, some Texas fishing talk. What do you say we make a change and go all the way up to Lake Superior and check in with our buddy Jeff Rice? Now, Jeff is he's at the dock, just been out on a fun fishing trip up there. I think they caught a bunch of lake trout. So let's talk about a little bit different type of fishing for most of us down here in Texas. Jeff, thank you, buddy, for being with us.
Yeah, good morning, Luke, from the Northwoods. How you doing?
Yeah, you betcha. Up in Lake Superior, right?
Yes, sir. We are up in Duluth, Minnesota, up on Lake Superior. Just got back from a beautiful fishing trip out on Lake Superior. Absolutely gorgeous day. The weather up here is right around 70 degrees. It's just beautiful. The winds were not heavy, so the boat ride out was beautiful, and we caught the daylights out of the lake trout. It was just a heck of a trip, Luke.
Oh man, I've never been on Lake Superior, but I do know this much about it. It's much like the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it is a huge water body, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like an ocean. You get out there and it is. I mean, it's a huge body of water. And it takes the right kind of boat to, you can't just take a small, boat out onto that water, because it could be super dangerous. Winds could come up real quick and shift, and it can be a dangerous place to be. But the boat we were in was just an absolutely beautiful, large boat. And I was with, of course, my brother Rick, and it was his birthday. It's his birthday. So happy birthday to my brother Rick. And then, of course, joining us were his two boys, my nephews, Ricky and Rob, and then Rob's wife, Amanda. And so we just had a ball. We caught the heck out of them.
Well, talk about how far from dock there did you go out roughly? Several miles or,
Yeah, we came out the channel where all the big iron ore ships come out, and you can only go out certain times because there's a lift bridge, and the bridge has to come up. You go under that lift bridge and out onto Superior, and we went about probably, I'm going to guess, roughly 5 miles.
Yeah.
And then once we got out there, I filmed all this, Luke, for A Sportsman's Life. So folks listening here today, you can check us out on A Sportsman's Life, and you can watch this show. It's going to be an amazing show. But we got out there about 5 miles, and then Captain Jamie Cotner was our captain. They dropped down, I guess, on each side of the boat there was 3 downriggers, and then on each side of the boat there were planer boards, and the planer boards will pull the lines out, and we had 4 on each side. So we had a total of 14 lines out at a time. And so three on the side were downriggers, they would have these giant, heavy lead balls that would take the line down on either side. And of course, then the planer boards would have the lines out as well. And they kind of help spread the lines out. And it was interesting because Jamie said that, we looked at the graph, the sonar, and we could see the fish. There's a fish all over the place. And I said, well, you just kind of look for the fish, obviously, and try to catch them. He says, absolutely not. He said, we don't fish the fish. We fish the water temperature, which I thought was really interesting. He said, we put our lines right at a thermocline. And he said, that's where you catch the fish. He said, don't even look at the screen for fish. It's all about the temperature, which was really interesting. But once we got out there and started trolling around, you'd have periods of time where all of a sudden you'd have one hit and you have another one hit, and then it would go quiet for just a little bit. He said, basically these fish move. They don't ever sit still. They don't suspend. They're always on the move. So you got to keep moving. We trolled at about, just a little over 2 miles an hour is what they trolled at. And, every now and then you'd have one hit, and we all took turns. It was like, okay, it's your turn. And right. we would just pull them in, and it just had a ball. And these fish were all absolutely beautiful fish. The coloring, the size, they were just beautiful fish. And then I snuck one coho salmon in there that I caught, which was a really beautiful fish too. So we really, really did well, really had a beautiful day. And I learned a lot about fishing on Lake Superior. It was just an interesting experience, Luke.
That's cool. Yeah, the coho salmon, up in Blue Mesa Reservoir, the Gunnison River feeds Blue Mesa, and I fish for them. They have a run there. Every so many years, those coho run back up the stream where they were hatched. And they're interesting fish. And the lake trout, you remember you and I up at Tasman Lake Lodge, we had
yes, sir.
We caught a bunch of lake trout, and we had the chef there built a fire of alder wood and smoked that, and I remember that went over big there at the camp. So those look like some very nice fish. I saw the pictures, folks. Jeff sent me a picture off of his cell phone there. Well, that's great, Jeff. So do you think you would maybe, that's a lot of fish, maybe smoke a bunch of them at one time, or just kind of freeze them and cook them along,
Oh, yeah, no, we are ready to fresh fish. We're going to smoke some right now. I mean, we're literally going to be heading back to the house, and we're going to fire up the smoker, and we are going to smoke some before we even pull it out of the bag. It's going to be ready to go. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, you know what we might do, just take a minute here, where you fish, the captain, I have always liked to, what I call, hook people up with fun stuff to do. Sounds like if you're up in that neck of the woods, up around Lake Superior, or to plan a trip up there, is there a website that the guide has, a way to contact him?
Yeah, he has a Facebook page. It's MN Sport Fishing is his Facebook page. His name is Captain Jamie Cotner. Really, I tell you what, folks, this guy is such a nice guy. You would have a great time going out with him. So if you're ever up in the Duluth area, look this guy up. Captain Jamie Cotner, mnsportfishingduluth@gmail.com is his email address. Just drop him a note, and he'll set up a trip for you. And I promise you'll have a great time. Like I said, this guy was just a super, super nice guy. A lot of fun to be with. Sometimes you go out with guides and they're kind of, maybe stale a little bit. This guy was just he reminds me of Chris Carey a little bit.
Yeah.
Just, how Chris is just a bubbly, fun, friendly, knowledgeable person. And we just had a great time. So yeah, look him up, get out there and MN Sport Fishing, Duluth@gmail.com.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff. Well, now right now the show is available. The cool thing is, folks, Jeff films everything, but for our show, A Sportsman's Life. And you can go to YouTube. It's a quick way to find it. YouTube, and just search out A Sportsman's Life, and it'll pop up. So I'm anxious to watch the video. And then also Carbon TV, which way more people actually watch our show on Carbon TV, but you can go to carbontv.com and look under, I think what's it listed under? Videos a lot of times, Jeff. I know it is.
Yeah,
there.
Just go to shows. If you go to shows, just look up a Sportsman's Life. Yeah. Okay. Matter of fact, because ours starts with A, it's like right there. It's one of the first ones, so you can't miss it.
Yeah, and while you're there, our thanks very much to all of our radio stations that run this show each week. There's a million outdoor shows that I feel very privileged that the stations choose this one to run. But after this is over, after it is played on all the radio stations, it then becomes a podcast. And that podcast is hosted there on Carbon TV, but it's also, as they say, Jeff, everywhere podcasts are found. It's called Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and friends. So there's a lot of ways to listen to what you and I are just now talking about, Jeff. So, well, look, I don't want to hold you up from more fun. I guess fish to clean and fish to cook later today. So thank you a lot for, sharing some of your vacation with us. And I bet a lot of people would be interested in catching fish up there in the manner that you guys are fishing.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful place. Duluth, Minnesota is a really beautiful place. My brother's lived here all his life, just about, and it's fun. A fun place to come if you've never been up here. I highly suggest you make your way up this way, and again, look this guy up. Go fishing. Go out there and catch some trout. You'll have a ball.
Well, Jeff, thanks very much, and continue to live it up there. Okay.
You bet, buddy.
Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game, lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.